Whole number operations. In this section, we're going to learn about whole numbers and how to do the four major operations with them, including the sum, difference, product, and quotient. And these are terms that you should become familiar with. Sum, you may already know, means addition, and it's indicated with a plus sign. Difference would be subtraction, and you use a minus sign. Product, there's a few different signs that you can use for product, but it's multiplication. So you can use the multiplication sign or a dot, or sometimes an asterisk, or sometimes parentheses next to each other would be multiplication. But for this lesson, we'll just use the multiplication sign, the X. And then quotient would be division. And you can see that as the division sign, or sometimes it's just a fraction bar where you have a numerator or a number on the top and a denominator, or the number on the bottom. Or sometimes you would set up the division problem with a bar. So we're going to go through all four different operations with whole numbers. And for most of you, this may be a review, but it's something that we're going to be working a lot with in the future videos. Okay, so the first operation we're going to work with would be the sum or addition of whole numbers. So adding whole numbers. And when we add whole numbers, we're gonna place the numbers on top of each other. So if we wanted to add the numbers 287 plus 13, we're going to place those numbers on top of each other and make sure that they're lined up so that the ones place are on top of the ones place and the tens place are on top of the tens place. So we can have this number 287, and then we'll write the 13 underneath. And notice that I put the ones place on top of each other, and also the tens place on top of each other. And then the hundreds place, well, there's no hundreds place in the number 13, so there's nothing underneath it. So when we add, first we start with the ones place. So we add 7 and 3, which equals 10. Now we can't write a 10 in the ones place because it only goes up to 9. So we write the second digit, so the digit in the ones place, which is a 0, and then we put the 1 of the 10 in over the tens place. And now we're going to add up the tens place column. So 1 plus 8 would be 9, and then another one would be another 10. So we have to write a 0, and you carry the 1, and then 1 plus 2 would be 3. So 287 plus 13 is going to equal 300. Okay, let's look at another problem. 95 plus 37. I've already written it down, and I've lined up the ones column and the tens column. So let's go ahead and add these numbers. So the 5 plus the 7 is going to be 12. So you put the 1 and the 12 over the tens place, and then you bring down the 2. And then we're ready to add the tens column. So 1 plus 9 is going to be 10, and then 10 plus 3 is 13. And then we can write a 13. So 95 plus 37 is 132. Okay, let's do one more problem before we move on to a different operation. We'll do 44 plus 87. Okay, 4 plus 7 is going to be 11, so you carry the 1, bring down the other one, so that's your 11. And then 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 8 would be 13. So 44 plus 87 is 131. Okay, subtracting whole numbers. Subtracting whole numbers. And this is also known as finding the difference. So difference. When you find the difference, you're going to be subtracting. Okay, let's look at a number 204 minus 36. Okay, we're going to set it up just like we did with the addition problem, where the ones, the digits in the ones column are above each other, and the digits in the tens place are above each other, and then you have the 2 in the hundreds place, and there's nothing over there in the 36. So the first thing we want to do is start in the ones column, and you say, can I take 6 away from 4? Well, you can't. So what we're going to have to do is some regrouping or borrowing. So what we need to do is borrow 10 from the 200. So we're borrowing 1 from the 200, and we're going to put it in front of that 0. So that makes 10. And now we can borrow 1 from that 10 so that we have 14 in the ones column now. And make sure that you rewrite what you have left. We borrowed 1 from the 2, so there's 1 left, and we borrowed 1 from the 10, so now there's 9. Okay, so 14 minus 6 is going to give you 8, and then 9 minus 3 will give you 6, and 1 minus, well, there's nothing to take away, so we just bring down the 1. So 204 minus 36 will give us 168. Okay, one more subtraction problem. 95 minus 37. Okay, 5 minus 7. Well, I can't take 7 away from 5, so I need to borrow 1 from the 9 and put that in front to make it a 15. And since I borrowed 1 from the 9, I only have 8 left there. So 15 minus 7 is going to give me 8. And then 8 minus 3 will give me 5. So 95 minus 37 will give me 58. Okay, let's do one more before we move on. We'll do 82 minus 49. Okay, 2 minus 9. Well, I can't take 9 away from 2, so I need to borrow 1 from the 8. So 12 minus 9 will give me 3. And then I have 7 left in the tens column there, so 7 minus 4 will give me 3. So 82 minus 49 will give me 33. Now let's move on to multiplying whole numbers. Multiplying whole numbers. When we multiply, we're gonna set up the problem on top of each other like we've been doing with addition and subtraction. And for this example, let's do 29 times 31. Okay, 29 times 31. Well, you're going to start in the ones column of the bottom number, and you're going to multiply each digit in the top number by that. And so we're going to do 1 times 9, which is 9, and we're going to write that. And then 1 times 2, which is 2. Now we're done with that 1, so we can cross that 1 off. And every time we cross one of those numbers off, you're going to bring down a 0 in that place. Okay, so we cross that 1 and bring down a 0. Now we can do the problem just like we did with the 1. So 3 times 9 is 27, so we have to carry the 2 and a 7. And then 3 times 2 is 6, and then we have to add our 2 that we carried to that 6. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 would be 8. And now our two numbers that we got when we multiplied, we have to add. So 9 plus 0 is 9, 2 plus 7 is 9, and then we have an 8. So 29 times 31 would be 899. Okay, let's do another multiplication problem. We'll do 25 times 12. And notice I wrote that not on top of each other, but we're going to rewrite it and then do the problem. So we're going to write 25 times 12. Now it's okay if you put the 12 on the top or the 25 on the bottom. That's fine. We're going to do the problem the same way and you'll get the same answer. But in this case we wrote the 25 on top and the 12 on the bottom. So let's get started with this 2. We're going to multiply that 2. So 2 times 5 is 10. So carry a 1 and bring down the 0. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. Okay, now we're done with that 2. So we can cross it off and bring down a 0. And 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, now we just add the two numbers. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. So we carry a 1 and bring down a 0. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. So 25 times 12 will equal 300. Dividing whole numbers. Dividing whole numbers. Okay, now this one we're not going to divide completely, meaning we're not going to keep on going and work with decimals. We're going to use remainders here. And if we wanted to divide two numbers, let's divide 592 divided by 7. So find the quotient of 592 and 7. So 592 divided by 7. Okay, when a problem's written like this, where it's 592 divided by 7, the first number is what's going to go in what I like to call the house. So we draw a little house. I don't know why people call it a house. It looks more like it's going to topple over, but we put the first number inside the house, and then the second one goes on the outside. Okay, this is important because if you set it up the wrong way, you're not going to get the right answer. So let's divide 7 into 592. So you ask yourself, does 7 go into a 5? Well, no, 7's larger than a 5, so you can't put it into a 5. So 7 does not go into a 5, so we write a 0 above the 5. But now we can ask, does 7 go into 59? And yes, it does go into 59, and it goes into 59 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. And now we subtract. So 59 minus 56. 9 minus 6 is 3. 5 minus 5 is 0. We don't have to write the 0. And now we bring down the 2. And we ask, can 7 go into 32? Well, yes it can, because 7's less than 32, so it most definitely can go into 32. So how many times does it go into 32? Well, it goes in 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 28. And now we subtract. So 2 minus 8, well, we can't take 8 away from 2, so we need to borrow 1 from the 3. So 12 minus 8 will give you 4. And 2 minus 2 is 0. So now we have a remainder of 4. So we can just write an R representing remainder and 4. So 59 divided by, or 592 divided by 7 is 84 with a remainder of 4. Let's do one more division problem and then we'll end the video. 721 divided by 6. Okay, the first number goes in the house, so 721, and divided by 6. Okay, now that we have it set up, we can do the problem. 6, well, does 6 go into 7? Yes, it does. It goes in once. So 1 times 6 is 6. And then you subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. And now we bring down the 2. Does 6 go into 12? Well, yes, it goes in twice. 6 times 2 is 12. So we bring down a 0. Or we have 0 and we bring down the 1. Well, does 6 go into 1? No, it does not. So we have to put a 0 there. And we have a remainder of 1. Okay, so 6 goes into 721 120 times with a remainder of 1. There's 1 left over.